"You must understand, Your Majesty, my father was King Mahmud of this land, the Black Isles. It gets its name from the 4 mountains that once were islands, and the capital city that now lies submerged beneath a vast lake. This is my tale of how these transformations occurred. When my father died at 66, I ascended the throne. I would my cousin, whom I adored and believed loved me deeply in return. But one fateful afternoon, as I dozed off while being fanned by 2 of her maids, I overheard one whisper to the other, 'Our mistress no longer loves our master. I fear she wishes him dead. After all, she is an enchantress.' Her words rattled me, and I began to watch closely. It didn't take long to confirm their suspicions. When I fatally wounded one of her favorite slaves for a heinous crime, she pleaded to build a palace in the garden to mourn him. For 2 years, she wept and lamented over him. I begged her to stop grieving, but through her dark magic, she kept him barely alive, an eternal, tormenting limbo. Enraged by my plea, she cursed me. With a few muttered incantations, I was transformed into what you see now, half man, half marble. But her vengeance didn't stop there. She enchanted our flourishing capital, turning it into the desolate lake and barren plains you saw. The 4 colored fish within the lake are the transfigured inhabitants, and the 4 hills are the former islands. Every day, she visits to beat me with a whip of buffalo hide. Her cruelty knows no bounds. The enchantress even takes pleasure in describing her dark deeds to add to my torment. When the young king concluded his sorrowful tale, he broke into tears, moving the sultan deeply. "Tell me," the sultan demanded, "where is this wicked woman and her wretched paramour, whom she keeps barely alive?" "I don't know where she resides," the sorrowful prince replied, "but at sunrise she visits the slave, hoping he might speak to her, all the while tormenting me." "Unfortunate king," said the sultan, "I will avenge you." They plotted together, deciding on a plan to enact the next day. The sultan rested, while the young king dared to hope for liberation. The next morning, the sultan made his way to the garden palace. Finding the barely alive slave, he drew his sword, ending the slave's misery, and threw the body down a well. He then took the slave's place on the couch, awaiting the enchantress. She first visited the young king, delivering her brutal blows, then came to where she believed her slave lay. Approaching the couch, she asked, "Are you better today, my dear slave? Speak but one word to me. How can I be better?" The sultan mimicked the slave's voice, "When I can never sleep due to the cries and groans of your husband." "What joy to hear you speak!" the enchantress exclaimed. "Do you wish him restored to his proper shape?" "Yes," the sultan replied. "Free him, so his cries cease to torment me." The enchantress hurried out, chanting over a cup of water until it boiled, then doused the prince, returning him to his human form. Overjoyed, the prince hid to watch the conclusion of the sultan's plan. Returning to the Palace of Tears, she asked, "Are you well now?" "Not yet," the sultan replied. "Each night at midnight, those you turned into fish lift their heads from the lake, crying for vengeance. Restore them." In haste, she went to the lake, chanting her spells. The fish transformed back into men, women, and children, and the city reappeared, vibrant and bustling. The sultan's entourage, camped by the lake, were astounded to find themselves in a grand city. Returning, she asked again, "Are you quite well now?" "Come closer," the sultan said. "Closer still." As she obeyed, he sprang up, striking her down with a single blow, severing her in 2. He then found the prince, saying, "Rejoice, your cruel enemy is dead." The prince thanked him profusely. "And now," said the sultan, "I will return to my capital, which I am pleased to find is so near yours." "Near mine," said the king of the Black Isles. "It is a year's journey from here. You arrived swiftly because of the enchantment, but I will accompany you." "It will be my pleasure," said the sultan, "and as I have no heir, I will make you my successor." The sultan and the prince departed together, laden with rich gifts from the Black Isles. Upon reaching his capital, the Sultan assembled his court, recounting all that had transpired and announcing the young king as his heir. The fisherman, the catalyst of this tale, was generously rewarded, ensuring happiness for him and his family for the rest of their lives.